Leadership is all about transparency, trust, and giving others room to flourish. I promote calculated risks, quick techniques, and mentally wherever good enough is just the beginning. We have to constantly improve. We should not wait for things to go perfect, because that usually becomes the bottleneck. We start with good enough, then we improve, then we create, and tomorrow will be far better than today. In today's world, leaders as leaders, we need to understand that we win or we lose collectively. It is not that the leader will succeed and team will fail, or the leader will succeed and organization will fail, or vice versa. That can't happen. Together all of them will succeed, or together all of them will fail. So every design decision, every downtime, every risk, every misstep had consequences at a national level. These challenges taught us as a team that how technology and governance can coexist at a scale. So first of all, thank you, Prasad, for the question. So if I recall my journey from a software engineer to CIO has been anything but linear. It has been a blend of learning, bold choices, and deep sense of purpose. And I started with a foundation in technology, writing code, building systems. However, I quickly realized one thing, that in order to create a real impact, I needed to understand the why behind the technology, the business, the users, the problem statements, the curiosity of knowing all these things into uh, something is that led to this leadership roles where I could influence not just systems but the strategy. So that was the core thinking behind all this preparation for the role. And a pivotal moment also came in when I got in the fintech projects, where for the underserved regions, and specifically the COVID time, when the technology transformed for me the tools to become enablers of inclusion, because that is the time when we saw that how technology can bring a social impact and can serve the underserved, and how it can make lives better. And today also, if I see, the role is to ensure tech drives scale, however, along with trust. That means it is kind of balancing innovation with cybersecurity, user centric design, with regulatory compliance. And being a thought leader isn't about titles, it is about listening, lifting others as you climb up. And also, there is one lesson which I think resonated throughout my journey, is that you have to stay adaptable, stay curious, and lead with impact. That is all I would say, that my journey from being the at the lowest level of the job and coming on to the role of a CIO.
Yeah. So I think a couple of valid points you made, like the foundation, and then which
Mhm.
like I mean I also learned, and then keep telling the team also, because like if you have to
Mhm.
really construct like the tallest building in the world, you have to have the rock solid foundation. So I think you made
Right.
that valid point. Another thing, like you talk about like the trust, and then the biggest point you made is like the being adaptable, and I like that the Darwin stuff. So like the species that survives, or species that
Yes.
not the intelligence one or the strongest
Yes.
one, but those who are adaptable to change. Like the
Yes.
way the technology is, the things the globally in the country, the changing. So adaptability is the like the faster you adapt. Like I think you made a, like you bang on. Like I really like that point. So what has inspired you like to pursue the career when like you started as a techie in technology, and then how did your early experience like help in your leadership style? Because as
Mhm.
the things changes, the style also we changes, and you made that point about the adaptability. So
Yeah.
how the early stuff has helped in shaping up your leadership?
Yeah. So I would say that's the one I enjoy pondering over, since it genuinely brings me back to the initial moments. Initially, for me, if you see, foray into technology was something not that I had planned. It
Hmm.
was not a career option. I had enrolled for electronics, but my parents suggested me because electronics was at a kind of a favorite at that point in time, and I was also getting good colleges, but my parents said, okay, let's opt for computers. And sometimes destiny decides for you, and it is said that you don't choose your profession chooses you. And that is something that happened with me. And it was then a pure curiosity and interest in solving problems that let me in progress further into this particular field. And if I recall being a young student, and the internet as we know it today was only starting to develop at that point in time. We used to read mostly about in the books that internet is going to revolutionize, and it was just the beginning. And we were experimenting with the dial-up models, early web pages, and sheer possibility of connecting the information with people around at the great distances. So it seemed like stepping into a different universe. And underlying logic, rather than simply using these tools, really caught my attention at that point in time. It was like organizing chaos and witnessing actual effects to the organization. And if I see now, more than 20 years have passed, and if I see my early interests have totally influenced my leadership philosophy. If I argue, they had created a bedrock for that point in time. So during early years of my career as a developer, I came to appreciate that code, the might of the code and need for cooperation, because it is not something like, if you take example of athlete, while we say that athlete has won the race, but there are a lot of people that made that athlete to win that particular race, the coaches, the supporters, everybody who has prepared for the race, and is the parents, everybody, but the face of it is just that particular athlete. And so is the case with the leader. uh, there are many people who support the journey of a leader. However, who is front ending all that stuff is that particular leader. So working in variety of teams helped me develop empathy and understand the importance of learning. And this is the, I will say, my leadership style now. I support a coaching leadership style whereby I help people identify their strengths, close their areas of improvement, and develop purposefully. I don't like to micromanage. I want people to own their mistakes, their achievements also. While and the fundamental thing, I think, which was there, how things work, has actually came into how we can solve the problems. If you know the basic things, that is what can make a lot of difference. Now if you see today, there are a lot of things which are available on platter, like in the AI era, you don't have to code. The vibe coding is there, it is there. But if you don't understand the basics, then things can really go wrong. And if I give you an analogy, suppose a robot, a doctor is doing a robotics surgery, and assume that robot at that point in time fails to proceed, and now doctor has not practiced surgery in practice during his tenure. So what will happen now? The patient is his body opened, a robot is unable to do anything, and if the doctor doesn't know, he will not be able to do anything. So that is where I think the depth of the subject is very important. And then also, I think the leadership is all about transparency, trust, and giving others room to flourish rather than just about authority. And this is, I think, the early lessons helped me a lot. So uh, I promote calculated risks, quick techniques, and mentally wherever good enough is just the beginning. We have to constantly improve. We should not wait for things to go perfect, because that usually becomes the bottleneck. We start with good enough, then we improve, then we create, and tomorrow will be far better than today. So overall, if I see the need of cooperation, the strength, the point of view of other people, because when you give room to people, they really can bring up some very good points and can challenge your uh, thought process also, which is good. Because if a leader is insecure, he or she is not open to listening to the inputs from their own team, they are actually creating, and they might be surrounded by parrots only. Whatever they are saying, they are just repeating without their thought of their own. And if you are hiring yourself on the other side of the table, then you somewhere you become the bottleneck, because people surrender at that point in time. Um, they are not no longer interested in giving you inputs, and so breaking the silos, creating that kind of atmosphere where every voice is valued and heard. We at the, I will say that in today's world, leaders, as leaders, we need to understand that we win or we lose collectively. It is not that the leader will succeed and team will fail, or the leader will succeed and organization will fail, or vice versa. That can't happen. Together all of them will succeed, or together all of them will fail. So I will say that from a young kid fascinated by how even a small modem might link the world, I have grown up into somebody who is seeking to create resilient, innovative, and very cooperative IT company. And guiding stars of my leadership path are the core values from those early days: curiosity, organized problem solving, ongoing learning, and the power of interconnection. I think that is all that I can summarize it with.
And I think it's like well articulated when it begins right from like your passion. So like when somebody is doing as a job,
Mm,
versus like when it is like a passion. And then you talked about like the team effort. So like whatever the role you play, whether it is at the lower level or the highest level,
mm,
obviously it is not like the one, it's like the one man, like yeah, individual game. It's a teamwork. And then each member of the team, each department, everyone needs to contribute and help for the success. Because like if you
mm,
don't do that, it's a collective failure or collective
yeah.
success. I think it's like
Mm,
well articulated. And then every department, every individual has to contribute. And then you talked
mm,
about like the accountability. So like responsibility comes with the accountability. People
mm,
these days, like they want the designation, they things,
mm,
they everything. But then accountability is what like
yeah.
yeah. So I mean you made very valid points. So now we move to the things where like achievement and the challenges. So you have like
Sure.
led several high impact initiatives from driving 100% automation reporting,
Mm,
and
mm,
then during the early days of the automation to building
mm,
and scaling up across the India and Indonesia,
mm,
contributing like the a nationwide digital
mm,
platform like Umang and all.
mm,
So
mm.
all these like the diverse project, and then what were like the common challenges did you encounter and how did you approach in problem solving? And then again, yeah, adding the innovation element and
Mm.
stakeholder alignments.
Yeah. So, very important question. I think that is a day-to-day challenge of in life of any technology leader. So, if I recall my working with Umang has been always very close to heart kind of a project, because it was kind of a project which has to touch the lives of millions across India.
Mhm.
So it for me it was not a technology project. It was a kind of a people first platform which was trying to simplify citizens' interaction with government. And otherwise, like there at that point in time, I would say there was not many channels which allowed people to connect with the government. And technology is a kind of a wonderful way to do that. And to be very true, at that point in time, I actually realized that there are a lot of schemes, there are a lot of government level initiatives which are happening. The only thing is that awareness is missing. And Umang, I think, became a pioneer in bringing about that awareness, because bringing all those services to one particular platform. And this is where like we have integrated all the services applications which were lying in different states, and being managed by different state governments, and we have to bring it to a platform. There is a API integration that is there, and at that point in time, you can't say it is the particular state department or particular service is not working. So for people, it is one interface, that is Umang, right? So we had to
Mhm.
create kind of an interface that works seamlessly. If there are issues, how do we solve those issues? So here I will say there was a lot of cross departmental coordination, and cross departmental coordination, when I'm saying that, it is not within one geography, it is across India.
Of course.
And in one particular state, you have hundreds of services running, being managed by different people. So you can imagine the net of the interactions that are required. And when we say that if there are n people, so there will be n into n minus 1 by 2 interactions that will happen. And you can imagine the sheer number of interactions, the volumes that were there. And everybody
Mhm.
has their own priorities, they want to do things to happen in their own way. So that was also something which was a kind of a major experience at that point in time. And then there was something, like I mentioned, that it has to be a people centric design. It was not like when we develop applications, we build for few personas, right? Here, there were not a single persona that existed. It had to work for a farmer in Bihar. It also had to work for pensioner in Kerala and student in Ladakh. So these are the people who have a very low digital literacy, and they are comfortable in local languages. So this required deep empathy and human-centric design to ensure inclusion. So that is where the whole effort came in. There were a lot of deliberations, like we drew a lot of designs and many were rejected. Then again, going on to drawing board, why this will work, why this should not work. We talk about design thinking, so that was there. I think a real massive use case at that point in time. And other thing which is very important, which I think everybody is concerned, is about security and compliance.
Mhm.
Or if you see with Umang, the sensitive data of the citizens is at stake at that point in time. You can't uh, create an application and think that okay, security is a kind of a afterthought. So we had to ensure that the platform adhere to the highest security standards, ensuring integration with Aadhaar, DigiLocker, and other services that required rigorous compliance protocols. And then we had a lot of interactions with these departments also. And change management, I think also beyond tech, it was about building trust among
Mhm.
the officials, developers, and users, and the so that the unified platform can work. Then the integration complexity, like if we talk about 500 services from different departments, each having different databases, processes, digital readiness, it all has to be harmonized into a single platform. So if we say that it won't be wrong to say that it was not just a technical integration. It had a kind of a cross ministry coordination, policy alignment, relentless follow up with the nodal officers. So a lot of things to learn, and how we have to maintain the level of patience, how we have to get things done. So that was a great learning. And also I think that one of the most important things in this particular project was a nation building mindset, which was there, because this platform is going to be the face of governance for citizens, at kind of a trust touch point. And it couldn't have been a kind of application where which says okay, this is just another government app, if it doesn't work, it is no wonder. So that kind of attitude or approach would not have worked for this application as such. So every design decision, every downtime, every risk, every misstep had consequences at a national level. Though this scale demanded resilience, not just in systems, however, in the teams working with uh, and through ambiguity, resource crunches, and constant scrutiny. So that is what I can recall. And here, one thing, like I said, this gives, and why I said this always remains close to heart, because here we built with a purpose. It Umang was seen by the government, and the people who were involved at that point in time as a bridge connecting citizens to entitlements, their dignity, and their voice. And the clarity kept us going even when the progress was slow initially, because getting things done from so many people, so many stakeholders was tough. And then translation, as we see now, translation seems to be very easy because the translation applications have evolved, and with the AI also there is a lot of training that is happening. However, at that point in time, translating and making the application available in 13 plus languages and making it really a mobile first initiative, so that was a kind of a massive effort. And these challenges taught us as a team that how technology and governance can coexist at a scale. And it can only happen through empathy, collaboration, and user focus. You can't just say, okay, we have built an application. So it was a kind of institution building, because this application is the face of the governance, the digital empowerment, and the pub- and a phase of public service transformation in one go. So this is all that particular stuff that is I can think of, and I am very proud that we could deliver this particular application, and it was inaugurated by Prime Minister himself. So, if you ask me what are the key lessons, we always have to think vision is important, execution is very important, because if execution fails, then you can't realize the vision. And change is emotional, it is not just technical. So you have to bring people along, and data literacy and strong governance are backbone of automation. So these are the key lessons which I will say that still resonate with me, building and working on different complex projects and otherwise.
Yeah, and I think you made a valid point, like the execution, and which is like I agree 1000%, because like otherwise it is said like plan remains plan unless it is executed. So
Yeah,
what is important is like the successful execution of it. So
yeah.
your work has like earned a lot of prestigious global recognition,
Mm-hmm.
including like the multiple Google Awards and then
Mm-hmm.
Computerworld and
Mm-hmm.
honors program kind of
Mm-hmm.
way. So could you
Mm-hmm.
share some stories and the breakthroughs behind
Yeah.
these like accolades and that reflect how such recognition has shaped up your leadership or inspired your team?
Yeah, definitely. I think this is these awards, I would say, is a kind of a testament for purpose-driven innovation and collaboration grit. Because something which is without a purpose, that there you, even if you put your heart and soul into it, the result still appears shallow. So all these two awards, if I talk about, they were for the things that we did, that has got a purpose and brought in a lot of social impact also. If I talk about the Google Awards, that was for, we got it for financial services, social impact, and DEI. And it was not only a proud moment for me, for it was for every team member. And we got this for the pioneer work in digital transformation. For financial services, we built the tech first platform to empower the rural financial services or financial inclusion through local entrepreneurs. And there we used Google's infrastructure to secure millions of transactions. Then the social impact award, that was for the vernacular, because like I said, even for Umang, uh, what we are serving, and we often talk about Bharat. So vernacular is very important. So we
Mhm.
built that voice-based interfaces, which simplified onboarding to digitally include the citizens in Bharat's heartlands. So it wasn't the transformation at the last milestone. It was breaking the barrier of language literacy and location. So that is where I think the technology has really helped. And for DEI, because here in order to make fintech services equitable and accessible, uh, and the inclusion of various forms, in terms of gender, in terms of race, in terms of geography, I think that was something that these innovations could create. And it created pride, belonging, and motivation that helped us to think of next things that we wish to do, and keep pushing that boundaries. And for me, if you talk about it, is personally a kind of a reminder that where tech meets empathy, we can really create magic moments. And if I talk about Computer World Honors Program, so it is kind of a longest running program that honors individuals and organizations
Mhm.
for their innovative use of IT to benefit society. And here it's a way, I will say that to celebrate and recognize those who are using technology to make a positive change. And we, in Spice Communications, this was when we won in 2009, and that is a kind of a era when we uh, don't hear very often something called AI or ML. These things, that point in time, no tools were available, and we had to do it on all our own. So at that point in time, we created that kind of impact. And as a part of this, I been to US to collect this particular award, and the work that we have done is still archived in 350 plus US universities. So if overall, if I summarize, I can say that these awards validated bold ideas, and when pursued with empathy and execution excellence, we can really set new benchmarks, and it built a mindset where we were not just solving problems, but we were facing the future. So I would say that it was a kind of a great achievement for me and the teams who have worked together on this particular initiative.
Yeah, and you made a valid point, like that such a recognition also motivates. So because like,
Yeah.
and then that again, it has like the inspiration to do more and more. And then you only set your high jump bar high and high
Mhm.
every time. So like setting your own uh, benchmark for it.
Mhm.
So having delivered like the remarkable business outcome, and
Mhm.
the and then you did like the significant cost reduction, major improvement in
Mhm.
customer experience, then productivity gains using like the hyper automation or RPA. You talked about like the AI, ML,
Mhm.
etc.
Mhm.
So at the same time, you have built like high performance like the teams with
Mhm.
exceptional retention, which is important.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
so, what guiding principle of the leadership strategies, I mean, enabled you to achieve both operational excellence as well as the cultural strengths?
Okay. So when I will summarize it to few points. That firstly, technology people should always think that they are there for the business to create an impact for the business. So
Mhm.
here, starting with the business mindset is very important. Whatever we are trying to do, we are not trying to do to prove our competency that we can do it, right? The technology is there, it is there for everybody. However, unless and until all the automation efforts are not tied to tangible business outcomes, you can't think in that particular direction. You have to think what is important. If cost reduction is there, or say customer experience needs to be improved, productivity, what you are going to achieve, what problem you are going to solve is important. It is not technology for the sake of technology. Technology is an enabler, it is not the goal. So starting with business first mindset is the key thing which I will say is important. Then, while we are trying to automate things, process intelligence before automation is something which is important. First, map, measure, and question every process. See if there is a possibility of streamlining and optimizing before you automate. Because if there is a bulky, dirty process, an inefficient process, the you are just you amplifying that inefficiency by doing automation. So here we are not, the intent of doing an automation is again not proving that we can do it, and it is also not that we want to pinpoint the inefficiencies in the processes. The best approach is we will collectively figure out the process inefficiencies and then clean them out, and then we will automate it to bring in level of efficiency. And that is what is going to help both technology and business teams what the exact business objective was. Then building a cross-functional governance, including business, IT, risk, and compliance is very important. So it ensures that prioritization is aligned and value is measured continuously. It is not only kind of a tech project that, okay, tech is doing, let them do it, and then we will at the end being questioned or like we have achieved or not. So it has to have a kind of a cross-functional governance. And then it is nowadays it is very important because the technology allows us investing in scalable low-code platforms. Hyper automation thrives on platforms that combine like RPA with AI, ML, maybe OCR workflows, and it is important that you pick the platforms that grow with you. You don't have to become bounded by platforms and thinking, oh, now it has become a kind of a bottleneck or a legacy, and now we will have to migrate, and migration becomes a mammoth effort altogether. And then you can't innovate because now you are stuck with solving the problems that you yourself have created. And also, it is important create a culture of automation champions, empower employees to identify automation opportunities, and decentralize the innovation by enabling business users to participate via citizen development, because they have been doing those processes, or they know the challenges at the back of their hand. If you uh, put them onto the driving seat, right, you can achieve a lot more rather than making them sit on the navigator's seat. And then I think measuring learning and scaling is important. Think big, but start small, track the ROI, refine, and then scale rapidly. So use metrics like how many person hours you saved, what is the person turnaround time that you reduced, what is the error reduction that you have been able to do. So it is not a kind of, I will say, you can't do it with just a project mindset. It is a kind of a mindset shift. So here people have to align with purpose, and enabled with right technology and culture, it becomes a multiplier of speed, efficiency, and resilience. And if you have also asked me about how we maintained high performance teams.
Mhm.
I think it is very important that teams have trust, purpose, and belongingness. The sense of belongingness is extremely important because when people belong to a place, they are ready to do anything to make that successful. And that can only come when they're clear with purpose and they have trust among themselves. So it is very important, and this begins at the hiring moment. Here we are not asking that we need to hire people from highest universities or the all the premium institutes. Here I think what is important is the attitude. You can always train for skill, you can't train for attitude, and that is the reason there is no training that exists for attitude, right? Because it is not something that can be changed. But if the people have a right attitude, and if they are curious, they are adaptable, they have empathy, I think we can upskill them. So that has always been my intention, that I have to hire people. They may be not very good in their skill at that point in time. However, if they are really good, what is the purpose that we are looking for, I think that is something which is there. And then it is very important for leaders to create a psychological safety. It has to Leaders have to encourage open dialogue without fear of judgment, or and you should celebrate dissent, reward intelligent risk taking, and normalize failure as a step towards innovation. Because if we are too critical about failures, I don't think people will again come up with the idea, or they would be ready to take that risk, because they always have that fear of being reprimanded or being not in your good books. And then I think promotion of inclusion beyond metrics is something very important in all the meetings. Diverse voices need to be heard in decisions and in all the matters. You have to take care of everyone, and don't consider it that retention or inclusion is something which HR has to do. right? It is not a HR's responsibility. It is the leaders or managers' responsibility how they are ensuring uh, uh, that in their teams diverse voices are being heard. And then, like I said, having a shared purpose is important. How they see their work is extremely important. If a person is just seeing, like there is a short story that says, if there are masons who were lying bricks, to one person they asked what you are doing, he says that I am lying bricks, and to the other person they asked, he's saying I am building a beautiful castle. So you can see the difference in approach and the outcome that will come as a result of it, the thought process, the mindset, because they have a shared purpose. They know that okay, when they see and now they will be able to give you more valuable inputs, and it can create miracles. And here recognition of excellence at a frequent level and fairly, it is important. So that is there. And here I also believe that you, as a leader, you should give autonomy, however, demand accountability. You give them space to experiment, however, set high standards. Don't compromise on the standards. This balance fuels innovation without compromising on delivery. Because if you will give autonomy and you will not demand for accountability, things will go haywire. And it is not that you only expect, you should lead by example. You should demonstrate humility, continuous learning, and inclusivity. Because teams mirror what they see, like a small kid mirrors what they see around
Yes.
their parents and everybody else. So I think this culture, with these small tiny things which sometimes get neglected, can create a big difference. And doing this, following these, can actually turn teams into talent magnets and engines of transformation.
No, I think, I mean, what I liked, and yesterday I was reading something. So the comparison of like the motivation and then versus the discipline, and then you talked about like the attitude, because like
Mhm.
something which has to be like the inherent in you. I mean, that
Mhm.
cannot be adapted. Like so, like the eagle, the way it flies in the deep skies,
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
pigeon cannot do that. So it has to be in the
Right.
blood, and that's
Mhm.
the attitude to
Yes.
get into the deep sky. So
Yeah.
which cannot be taught.
Mhm.
It was like just saying like the motivation and discipline.
Mhm.
Motivation like the getting money, getting appraisal, then you can be motivated for 1 month and yeah. But how do you keep that motivation? But if you have the discipline, rest
Mhm.
will come automatically. So
Yeah,
that is,
definitely.
and then I just liked it the way like you articulated. So I just remembered like what I was reading yesterday. So considering like the today's like the fast moving environment, how do you
Mhm.
balance your personal pressure and the daily operation with the pursuit of like long-term innovation and digital transformation?
Mhm. Yeah, so Prasad, it is tough. However, as a leader, balancing day-to-day operations with long-term vision of innovation and digital transformation is a kind of a continuous and a dynamic challenge. We can't shy away from it. However, it requires a strategic mindset, effective communication, and commitment to empower your team. Like I said earlier, empowerment of the team here, leader can single-handedly can't move every needle, right? And innovation is something that can't happen. Okay, we will do it after 5 or after 6 the business hours. It can't work like that way. And also, I will also say innovation is an inefficient process. You can't say these are the stated rules of innovation. If you do this, innovation happens, right? So innovation, why it is inefficient? Because it can happen at any point in time. You have to keep trying. So a dedicated innovation time is important. It is not something that, and what they say is that what is the biggest barrier or biggest enemy of innovation? It is the daily routine. If you are stuck into daily routine, you can't innovate, right? So I actively carve out specific time in my schedule, and this is what I encourage my teams to do, that find time for thinking, research, planning, what is happening in the world across, how we can bring in, what are the challenges that we are seeing, how we can innovate and do something about it. So it has to have a dedicated and a focused effort. And in I ensure that teams are aligned with competing long term purpose. So every decision is filtered through the lens: does this move bring us closer to future that we are building? If it is, then obviously it becomes aligned into the North Star vision. And then it is also important to maintain a kind of a dual cadence or dual operating rhythms, one for the operational excellence and other for the innovation, where operational excellence can be your weekly reviews, service metrics, and your uh, innovation can have monthly innovation sprints, quarterly horizon planning. And this separation, why it is important, because uh, then otherwise you are only focused on one, and if there are firefighting that is required in the business, obviously that will always eat up your time. You will never get time for innovation. And then empower the distributed leadership. You have to delegate, you have to create your first in line commanders like that, that they can take up the day to day execution also, and empower your teams to take that ownership. That
Hmm.
is where you as a leader can have that bandwidth to scout for trends, shape strategy, and experiment. If you are doing too much of a micromanagement and you think that you are the only one who can do things right, then probably you can only micromanage and do more harm than good in the entire organization. And it is also very important is that we build learning loops. It is not that every day is a perfect day. You have a lot of learnings every day, because operations, there are a lot of things that we might have anticipated, not worked on time to fix those issues, or there might be some certain things which were completely unanticipated. And so, retrospectives, dashboards, customer insights. It is very important that it shouldn't be thought of as a side project. It should not be, okay, let these things come up together and we will do it as a project. If you know that certain things need attention, just keep a track of it, prioritize and do it. And then it is very important that we invest in future readiness. Uh, I will say doing pilot projects, digital skill training, and tech exploration is very important. You can't be an expert in a day. It requires a continuous effort, continuous upskilling. Today, you might not need something, but you might need it tomorrow. Like Steve Jobs entered into calligraphy class, he probably would not have thought, what will I do with calligraphy? But that is how we got so many beautiful fonts now. So sometimes it is important to upskill for future, even if you are not able to make sense uh, of it today. And also, I think the other thing which is important, balancing KPI, balancing innovation and day-to-day operations is the KPIs. You should have separate KPIs for both of them, track them separately, and then take informed decisions. And keep on experimenting and learning. That is there, and this is what the teams should also do. They should experiment, they should have learnings, they should come back. And pilot projects, like I said, are extremely important. That helps you sense the pulse, find out what are the gaps. And it is also important from a fact that if you have not started small, and you will have a big bang of problems and you might not be able to fix those and create a lot of damage for the organization. And then change management is extremely important, because when we are talking about day-to-day operations, or we are talking about the innovation projects, you are not dealing with only machines, you are dealing with real people. And people have their own priorities, people have their own aspirations, people have their own thought processes. So you have to manage the resistance, you have to find out who are the supporters who are going to resist, and how you are going to manage, and how their concerns can be taken into consideration and resolved. And I think leadership buy-in and support is extremely important. for the long-term vision and actively championing the change. Because, like I said, technology is an enabler, it is not the goal. It is not that technology is doing, it is not a tech project. That project is happening for the organization for business objectives. Tech is going to enable it. So hence the leadership buy-in, and I will say two in box kind of approach where both a technology leader and a business leader co-own that particular initiative, that makes the real difference. Otherwise it is that technology always fighting business. Business is not giving me requirements, business is not supporting me. That kind of conflict will always be there. And if you are doing that, majority of your time goes into conflict management. And then you have to keep yourself informed. It is very important. Technology is changing really fast. And technology is nowadays, if I talk about AI, it is not only changing the spheres of technology only, it is also changing the way of work. It is also changing, now AI has impacted the organization structures also. It is not the same it was there earlier. So emerging technologies, industry trends, and best practices, if you keep yourself informed with, it is going to make a big difference. And then I think sustainability is also extremely important nowadays. So sustainable transformation thrives not only by choosing between today or tomorrow. However, it is architecting a culture that delivers both every day. So this is my 2 cents on this.
No, no, I think perfectly articulated. And then people tend to make a mistake like, oh, I got a technology, but there
Mhm,
is a human element, people element, biases. So
mhm,
those are the things. So how do you manage the biases is also like one of the tough and the intelligent task one has to really take care
mhm,
of it.
mhm, mhm,
And then I think again your favorite things like you have been like forefront of like leveraging all the technologies like the talked about like the hyperautomation AI,
mhm,
then low code, no code platform technology, Gen AI, which is
mhm,
coming. How do
mhm,
you envision their impact, particularly like the industry like fintech or rural market, and what
mhm.
shift for you foresee in the operational efficiency and digital inclusion kind of?
Mhm. So if I talk about as technology leaders, our roles have fundamentally shifted. So we are not just the keepers of lights on, and now the mandate is dual. Like we have to ensure rock solid operational stability and efficiency today, while simultaneously acting as a primary catalyst for digital velocity and future innovation. So it is kind of a balance, dual role that we have to take care, and that means creating a culture, nurturing a culture where both are equally valued and interconnected. So here, these I would see myself as an orchestrator of these capabilities to build intelligent enterprises. It is that you have to think in terms of platforms, not as a point solution. You are not implementing an individual tool. You are building an integrated platform, because that particular tool has to get integrated into the entire ecosystem, and you have to leverage the technology with a synergy. So it is extremely important decision while making an or choosing a tool, that you are not saying yes to a particular tool. How that particular tool is going to integrate, impact your enterprise solutions that already exist is important. And then democratization of through low code, no code is important, because it empowers citizen developers also within the business units to solve their own problems. It is not that technology only has to solve all the problems. And this I think that this thing I learned really early, because when I started with the analytics and business intelligence, and that is where we had created a self-service BI. And I'm talking about the, and I will say that we were much ahead of that particular time when even this term was not coined. The self-service BI, how we started. We started teaching people how to write basic SQL queries, because at that point in time, these visualization tools, etc. And I'm talking about 20 more than 20 years back. So we taught people how to write SQL queries. We gave them access, read-only access to their specific data marts at that point in time, and we could see that business users, they always keep on coming with a kind of a brilliant ideas. They had stopped coming with cribs that this is not happening, that is not happening. They were always full of ideas, brimming with, I will say, innovation, and saying, talking about collaboration. Okay, how we can do that, and that is something which can happen with low code, no code tools. Because I think if that magic could have been created 20 years back with only just doing the analytics part, it can happen now when we involve the business users into the process design and implementation also. And it no longer remains a blame game. Tech has not delivered for me. Now you have empowered me, and since you, and then technology is doing the core job. They are ensuring that there are no shadow ITs getting created. What needs governance, what needs security, what needs technology's attention stays with the technology, only that you have empowered the users with how they can take up, or they can become self sufficient, and you will free up a lot of your central IT teams bandwidth for complex strategic initiatives. And this is, I will call it as a guided autonomy, which is very important. And now, talking about AI, I think now the AI tools provide a lot of further empowerment, and optimization can happen, and it is kind of augmenting humans capability across board. And then process mining and intelligent automation is important, because you need to understand the operational efficiencies before the automation happens. Like I said sometime back also, that it ensures that we are not optimizing or we are not automating the broken processes. We are first optimizing that broken processes, and then applying an intelligent automation there. And I will say, in case of future, if we talk about operational efficiencies, uh,
Mhm.
these are going to be led by increasingly autonomous systems, the self-optimizing workflows. Operations will shift from reactive to profoundly proactive and predictive, anticipating customer needs, supply chain disruptions, or system failures before they occur. So that is where, and the demand, I think, from the users will also shift accordingly, because now people know that technology can deliver that. Earlier, people used to think, okay, how will this happen? It is not possible. They used to think that it is impossible. But now, because if a layman, I would say, can use various GPTs that are available and get the results, they think that now it is far easier than it used to be earlier. And human and machine teaming, I think that is going to become an impeccable combination, solving complex problems, and intelligent digital assistants and automated workflows. So I will say the future is going to be very interesting and innovative for all of us.
Yeah, and then you made that valid thing. So like combination of like the machine and the human intelligence. So definitely like the agentic AI that everyone is talking about. That's the way the forward. So every leader has like faces the setback and then the turning point. So can you share some experience where the things didn't go as planned, and what have you learned from it, and uh, how that moment influenced your leadership philosophy and building some resilient teams like.
Yeah. So I would say there are many things which don't go as per the plan. And one of the things I remember is one of my uh, initial DR drills, the disaster recovery drills. And that is, I will call it a defining moment for in my leadership journey, because, and I'm talking about a decade ago. So that was my first DR drill. And we were very enthusiastic while we have done lot of careful planning and limit. At that point in time, there were very limited technological options also were there, and the drill did not go as expected. Our objective was to complete the recovery before the business hours begin. However, at that point in time, we encountered unanticipated issues, the rollback failures, and the challenges in restoring the data consistency. And time was slipping, pressure was mounting, both internally and externally, and confidence across functions started to waver. So eventually, through sheer perseverance, and we were able to restore the operations. However, that experience left a dent, not just in organization trust, but in
Mhm.
sense of uh, confidence, I would say. And that was a turning moment. What followed was transformational. I think there are biggest lessons for me at that point in time. First is psychological safety is non-negotiable. You
Mhm.
have to ensure that your teams stay focused under pressure, because if you will just push all the pressure to the teams, then they can't work and they can't deliver. But if you are giving that kind of environment where they know that it is not their fault, because here we are not putting blame on whose fault is this. We have to target what is the fault and how we can resolve it. So that mindset is really important. Trusting your team, especially in the darkest hour, is where the real leadership begins. People might say, like, they will say you should have hired efficient team members who know how to do jobs, and a lot of questions will come on the competency and caliber of people when simplest of the things don't work, right? So that is where you have to maintain that level of trust with your team. Owning failure openly and gracefully without a blame culture, I think that is somewhere a space for learning and growth exists. And then uh, it is important that we institutionalize the learnings. We put it through a rigorous documentation, do a postmortem, and do a simulation based drills in order to ensure that whatever has happened, it has happened. You can't go and change it. However, you don't repeat in future. And then it is important to embed 360-degree thinking. So considering just tech recovery, but the business impact, the stakeholder alignment, and the communication protocols. Probably we focused much at that point in time only on the technology, like how we are going to do this process technologically and how we will just switch over and switch back. We did not focus much on how, if things go wrong at that point in time, how we are going to manage the stakeholders, how we are going to do the communication, what else and what not. So I think that really shifted from a holistic 360-degree mindset rather than just focus on the technology. And I think also raising the bar continually is something which is important. We just don't stop at once the issue is fixed. We set ourselves new benchmarks in terms of preparedness and cross-functional collaboration. So this single failure, I think, helped us create further culture of excellence and accountability. And for us, like now, those drills are just kind of high performance simulations that just build confidence across the organization. And in this case, I will say setbacks are not endpoints, and they are just springboards to higher standards. And this is how we should look failures or setbacks. The more you fail, probably that can be due to two reasons: either you are not learning or you are trying to do something new. And if you are trying to do something new, I think failure is only going to add value to whatever you are doing.
Yeah, and I think that's why it is said like the failure is like the milestone of the success.
Yes.
And then the more you tire, more you fail, more you learn kind of way. So
Mm.
that's why like somebody said like if you succeed in your first attempt and later on
Mhm.
you fail, then people will
Yeah.
say like the first was a fluke.
Yeah.
So first was a fluke. So
Yeah.
that's why like I mean it's a repeated process and then one who learns and then really encashes that
Right.
what
Right.
the
Right.
sign of the
Right.
good leadership. So
Mm-hmm.
as a pioneer in like rural fintech, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
how do you see technology is reshaping Bharat, and then financial landscape. And what key trend excite you most, and what opportunity challenges you foresee in driving inclusion and innovation in underserved market.
Yeah. So I see Bharat not as a challenge. I think it is the most powerful untapped opportunity of the decade. With over 65% India's population residing in rural areas, solving for Bharat means solving for India's future. So biggest of opportunities, if I can think of, is the digital credit and the financial inclusion, like AI-powered credit scoring using alternative data sources, because many of the population is still underbanked and they might not have a lot of collaterals to provide. So alternative sources of data like mobile usage, agriculture yields, their GST receipts can be a big enabler for the credit for these people who actually need it. And embedded finance for agri and MSMEs, like integrating payments, insurance, supply chain financing into farmer platforms and rural MSME tools is going to be a game changer. And then, like voice and vernacular, and we have seen our own self, like how that can bring out a difference. And then the agent-led models with tech empowerment, AI-enabled tool can bridge the last mile trust gap, which is there. Key challenges will still remain to certain extent, like the digital trust and literacy, misinformation, digital illiteracy. That is where the adoption barriers come. And here, I think trust can be earned through handholding and community models. And the last mile internet and device penetration is still something that is limiting the reach. Probably something offline first, or the other models are essential. And from data privacy, consent, interoperability across platforms, they have to also evolve responsibly. So I will say, to solve for Bharat, we need contextual innovation, local partnerships, and mission mindset, not just to create tech for uh, rural India, but to build it with rural India. That is how I see it.
So, I mean, in rural India or the span India things like the communication or the connectivity is a big challenge.
Yeah.
So, I was just reading this Elon Musk and that SpaceX coming with something satellite-based technology.
Mhm.
So, when I think Airtel they tied up in India, so that will
Mhm.
disrupt, like saying like okay the communication. I remember
Yeah.
like 2 decades ago when I mean, more than two and a half decade ago, like the satellite connect. I mean, those were like what do you call it as like prior to that lease lines were
Yeah.
available only in the large cities. But when you go to
Yes.
like the pan India, so that
Mhm.
this I forgot that. So that connectivity was like the often a challenge. So with the
Yeah.
Elon Musk and the SpaceX coming with this satellite-based technology, would you think like it will help uh, in solving those things, connectivity issues?
Yeah, so while the time will tell what will actually happen, because firstly the it should be, whatever is coming, it should be affordable technology, because if it is not affordable, it can't solve for masses. However, if it is available for the masses, then definitely internet is solving a lot of things. And with COVID, I think a lot of new users have come onto the digital platform, and I think IBM studies in done in 2022, I think, that says that there are one single person has got 29 digital technologies that is there. But the other thing which is important, while we are saying that there are a lot of new people coming on to this digital platform, the concerns of privacy, frauds, these are the things that will be security that will become more important and more amplified if not taken care of. And like I quote often that there is a Chinese proverb that says that a newborn lamb is not afraid of lion, and that is something that happens with the new digital users, because they have got the access and the playground to play. They are not worried about the rules of the game. So I think while this can definitely be a factor which can transform and revolutionize, because with geo coming in, I think in the past we have all seen how the data, and now we are sitting at the cheapest data uh, across the world, and we have seen leaps and bounds of growth, not only in terms of and I think the biggest metric to see the transformation potential is the UPI transactions, which has
Hmm.
jumped from few lakhs to 14,000 crore transactions now, that in 2025. So internet can become a game changer if it is available with masses, however, at affordable rates.
Yeah, and the uniqueness of the UPI. I mean, the India holds the number one position for last
Mm.
5, 6 years, and
Yes.
then and that's like the miles. Like so, UPI. The next one is like the pics of Brazil. So
Yeah.
India did some 150 billion transaction last year, and then
Yes.
Brazil was number two with 48 billion. So like we are
Yeah.
miles ahead. Like not
Yeah.
even half. It is like the one third. So I think, I
Mhm.
mean, the great initiatives by NPCI, Reserve Bank of India, and
Mhm.
government. So coming to the last thing, like the professional who are aspiring to become a future CIO or tech leader, what skills, experience, mindset do you think they should have it in themselves? So,
Mhm. So I will say the aspiring CIOs must blend technical depth with strategic foresight and people-centric leadership. These are the two fundamental pillars that I would say are important. And why strategic thinking? Because here CIOs are not just tech enablers; they are the business strategists. And understanding how technology drives business outcomes is critical. And it is not something which is negotiable now. It is non-negotiable. Then cross-functional experience is important. Exposure to diverse domains, operations, finance, marketing, customer services. That helps you to build empathy and fluency in aligning IT with organization goals. Otherwise, you will always think of technology as a tech project, and you will live in silos, and probably you will not succeed. Then modern CIOs are the change agents, and experience in leading digital transformation or modernization initiatives teaches them how to manage resistance, communicate vision, and build that momentum. So the more you do uh, uh, these kind of projects or activities with that will require cross uh, stakeholder engagements and how you manage the conflicts and resistance, it is important. And like the saying goes, the more you sweat in peace, uh, uh, less you bleed in war. And that is that holds true with this. When you are aspiring for that CIO position, the more you can practice in all the projects, because at that point in time you are still having very lower stakes. But when you become a CIO, and at that point in time, if you don't know how to manage these, the battleground or the playground will become really tricky. And then also cybersecurity and risk acumen is something which I think is very important, because the cyber threats are rising. CIOs must embed security into their strategy, or the risk management experience is very important, because these are the things which have now become non-negotiable. And if something which I will say, the cyber resilience for any organization is critical, and CIOs must have that level of skill. Then CIOs must be comfortable using data for decisions and understanding emerging technologies like AI, ML, cloud, blockchain. And these are not only important that for adoption purposes, it is also important from an innovation standpoint. And for building high performance teams, diverse and resilience teams is something which is very critical. And CIOs who mentor talent and foster innovation gain trust and long term loyalty. So it is important that you don't remain insecure, you don't hold everything, or you don't micromanage. You create or you build that kind of teams that can help you establish better, resilient, and scalable systems, and that is where the long term loyalty also comes in. And like I said at the very beginning, uh, adaptability and continuous learning are the two things which I think that is important and that they can do by attending forums, engaging with startups, and trying to stay curious. So my final advice here would be to all the aspiring CIOs or the young leaders will be don't just chase tech mastery, build influence, empathy, and business literacy. The future of CIO is not just as a technologist, it is like a transformer. And transformation just doesn't happen only with the technology, it requires a lot of other things as well, that as you build.
I think it was like interesting conversation, Varundeep. So I mean,
Mhm.
we can talk hours because I think there are a lot of learnings like we have and interesting conversation. So once again, thank you for your valuable time.